Refer to the accompanying data display over here to the right that results from a sample of airport data speeds in megabytes per second. Complete parts A through C below. For the first part, it says, what is the number of degrees of freedom that should be used for finding the critical value? Now here we see the display. This is the t-interval display. Top part is our confidence interval. We have our sample mean. We have our sample standard deviation and the sample size. So let's answer part A. So for constructing a confidence interval using the t-distribution, the number of degrees of freedom is the sample size minus 1. So the formula for that would be the following. The degrees of freedom is equal to n minus 1. Well, the sample size is 50. So 50 minus 1 is going to give us 49. So therefore we can put in here the degrees of freedom to be 49. Okay, now the next question says to find the critical value or the critical t-value corresponding to a 95% confidence level. So let's go ahead and do that in our next step. So to find the critical t-value, okay, the first thing is that we need to know what alpha represents. Well, alpha is taking 1 and then subtracting 95%. That's our confidence level, which is the same thing as 1 minus 0.95, which gives us 0.05. And then we're going to take alpha and then divide that by 2. So 0.05 divided by 2 is going to give us 0.025. So what does that tell us? Well, that tells us in the bell curve, the area that's to the right of our t distribution is going to be 0.025. And so that critical value is going to be t with an area to the right of 0.025. So again, this is going to be 0.025. Let's go ahead and shade that region since that's what we're looking for. Okay, so we know what that region is. So now what we want to do is we want to find out what is that critical value. So in order to find that critical value, we want to find, okay, what is the probability of when t is greater than or equal to what critical value that's going to give us an area of 0.0250. So let's go ahead and use StatCrunch to do that. So using StatCrunch, we're going to go to Stat, we're going to go to Calculators, and then we're going to scroll all the way down to t because we're looking for the critical t value. So with the critical t value, we first want to put in our degrees of freedom. Well, we know our degrees of freedom from the first part is 49. And then we want to make sure that our inequality is going to be now pointing to the right. And then we're going to put in the area that represents 0.0250. Select compute, and now we're going to round this critical value to 2 decimal places, which is 2.01. So therefore the critical t value is going to be 2.01. Let's go ahead and put that in here, and there is our result. Now the next question says, give a brief general description of the number of degrees of freedom. Well, the number of degrees of freedom for a collection of sample data is the number of sample values that can vary after certain restrictions have been imposed on all data values. So that means our answer is going to be A. And those are the results for this question.